We're discussing from chapter number 13, verses 18 and 19. Jyotishamapi tajyotis tamasah paramuchyate jnanam jneyam jnanagamyam hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. Hare Krishna, would anybody like to recite the shloka?
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Bhagavad-gītā 13.18 Jyotisham api tajyotis tamasah paramuchyate jnanam ajnanam jnanagamyam hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge, he is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's go to the next one. इति क्षेत्रं तथा ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं चोक्तं समासतः मद्भक्ता ये तद्विज्ञाय मद्भावयोपपद्यते. Hare Krishna, would anybody like to recite the shloka?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Bhagavad-gītā 13.19 Iti kshetram tata jnanam jneyam choktam samasadaha madbhakta edadhyaya madbhavayopa padyate. Hare Krishna. Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowledge have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain to my nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much. Very important verses from chapter number 13, because this is where Lord Krishna is talking about knowledge. Okay. When we think of knowledge, what comes to our mind? Academic degrees and academic qualifications. But real knowledge, Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gītā, is to have the knowledge about the super soul, the knowledge of the soul, to have the knowledge about the super soul. And the object of the knowledge is the super soul. This is what Krishna is explaining about. Okay, to be very specific, Krishna is talking about the super soul here. Super soul is Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Okay, Krishna's expansion. Okay, Lord Krishna's expansion is Balaram. His expansion is Chaturvyuha, first Chaturvyuha. And from that Chaturvyuha Sankarshan comes the second Chaturvyuha. From that Sankarshan comes Mahavishnu. From Mahavishnu comes Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. From Garbhodakashayi Vishnu comes Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, who is the super soul present in every living entity. Krishna is speaking about that super soul, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Again, at the same time, it doesn't mean that Vishnu is lower than Krishna or anything like that. What it just means is just like how a candle lights another candle. It's like original candle is Krishna, and then comes Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So this is what has been explained by our acharyas, including Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now talking about the super soul, Jyotisam api tad jyotihi. That means he is a source of light in all the luminous objects. So we have previously seen Krishna speaking and saying that the splendor of the sun comes from me. Splendor of the sun comes from me. Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yoho. That means the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon. Shashi, that means the moon. Surya Yoho. Surya means the sun. So the light that is coming, any light that you are seeing, including the tube light or any kind of lights, they're actually reflection of the sun. Okay. And the sun is actually a reflection of the effulgence coming out of Krishna from the spiritual world. So therefore, Krishna is the original source of all the luminary bodies in the world. says tamasaha param uchyate. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. There's actually a shloka in the Vedas, okay, Aitreya Upanishad, Aitreya Aranyaka, which says Narayana param brahma, tattvam Narayana paraha, Narayanam param jyoti, Atma Narayana paraha. That means Narayana is Parabrahma and Tattvam Narayana Para means the topmost Tattva. There's so many Tattvas explained in the Vedas, but the topmost one, the topmost knowledge is the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana. And then it says Narayana Param Jyoti. So the effulgence that is coming out of these Vaikuntha planets is so dazzling, it's so amazing. It's called as the Brahma Jyoti. So this Brahma Jyoti is actually coming from the Lord. Okay. And it also says Atma Narayana Paraha. That means Lord Narayana is Paramatma. He's the super soul. So what is very interesting is how do you describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So the way to describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to use the superlative degree. So in any kind of language, we have the comparative and the superlative degree words, right? So all the superlative degrees belong to Krishna. Anything in excessive quantity or quality, Param is Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha is Parameshwara, his Dham is Parandham, and his Tattva is Paratattva. So he is beyond everything, he's transcendental to the three modes of material nature. It says that Tamasaha Paramuchyate, he is beyond the darkness of the matter. It's an interesting point because this material world, how has it formed? Let us try to analyze and understand that. Originally, there was only spiritual world. Just imagine sky. And imagine that's the spiritual sky. And out of this spiritual world, there was a cloud that came. Okay, that's called as a Mahatattva. So this Mahatattva cloud has come. It's just like, there's a clear sky and suddenly you see a cloud that's developing from some nowhere, right? So, and then this cloud is dark, right? And then inside the cloud, it's dark. So similarly, the material nature is dark. It's by design like that. And even when Lord Brahma is creating the universe, one of the features of the material nature is avidya, ajnana, avidya, and andhakara. So the material world requires light. It requires the sun planet. That is why the material world requires sun. But spiritual world, there is no requirement for sun. Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, Natad bhasayate suryo nashashanko na pavakaha. That means, in that spiritual abode, there is no need for any sun. There is no need for any moon. Nor is there need for any kind of fire or electricity. So, tad dhamam paramam mama. That spiritual planet, okay, which is covering 3/4 of the entire creation, is the spiritual planet which does not require any kind of sun. But we are in the material world, inside that Mahatattva, inside that dark cloud, and we are in one of the universes that got created by Sarga, by Lord Vishnu first, and then Pratisarga next by Lord Brahma. So the original creator is actually Lord Vishnu. And this material world is full of darkness. And therefore, we want to come out of this darkness to the light. We say, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrutyoma Amrutangamaya. So Tamasoma, Tamas, it is made up of Tamas, complete darkness. This material world is full of darkness. It does not matter whether we go to any of the upper planetary system. Right? So, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. That means all the planetary systems within the material world, including the planets of the demigods, are within the darkness of this material world. Therefore, each Upanishad says, those people who worship the demigods and those people who, they enter into the dark areas of the universe. And then those who worship the impersonal absolute truth, they enter into the further darkest areas. So what is the meaning of dark area? Tamas means material world. It is still material world. It may be a demigod planet, but it is still material world. Spiritual world is only Vaikuntha. It's beyond the material conception. It is beyond the Viraja river. Okay, so that's what Krishna is saying. Parastasmatu bhava anyo vyakto vyakta sanatanaha. Beyond this material world, there is a spiritual world. That is my dham. So why should we go to Krishna Dhama? Is so that we never have to come back. We are going from tamasoma, from tamas, from darkness to jyoti, jyotirgamaya. And that jyoti, param jyoti, Narayana is Krishna. That's what jyotisham api tad jyoti is beyond the darkness of the matter, and he is unmanifested. It is not that he was earlier something and then he manifested now. Right? Krishna says that it is not that I was impersonal Brahman before and now I have become, manifested. Because some people who say that the formless God has now become with form. See, that theory is not supported by Bhagavad-gītā. Krishna says anybody who says that I was formless before and now I am with a form, such a person is actually ignorant, is a fool. Avyaktam vyaktimapanna manyate tam abuddhayaha. That means who are less intelligent, they say like that I was unmanifested before, now I have become manifested. No, Krishna is always self-manifested and he is always the same. He is unchanging. So he is unmanifested and he is the knowledge. Jnanam jneyam jnana gamyam. Right? Knowledge is Krishna. Object of knowledge is Krishna. Goal of knowledge also is Krishna. Jnanam jneyam jnana gamyam. So the super soul or Paramatma is the actual original object of all kinds of knowledge. So when the knowledge culminates, right, it culminates in super soul or Paramatma. This is very important. Hridi sarvasya vishtitam. This is also very important information. We have to understand the difference between the Sanatana Dharma and the other kind of religious processes is that our religion accepts that Hridi sarvasya vishtitam. That means the Supreme Personality of God is present in everybody. There's no discrimination or distinction that, okay, this person is an Indian, therefore Lord Vishnu will stay in the heart of this Indian. Oh, this person is outside the boundary of India, therefore he shall not stay. No. Not only India, every human being, not only every human being, every living entity, right? Sarvayonishu kaunteya sambhava murtiyantiyaha. That means for every living entity, Krishna is the Father. So that is a very, very important knowledge that he is present in the heart of every living entity. We speak about it a lot of times, but we don't realize it. When do we get this practical realization? When we are able to consider or when we are able to see our friend and enemy on an equal platform. Tulya nindas stutir mauni. If we are able to take insult and praises with the same kind of a feeling, right? And if you're able to see your friend and an enemy on the same platform, that's when you understand that, Krishna is actually there in every living entity. That is the actual realization. So the purpose of the temple worship is that we realize that the Lord, Paramatma, is present in the heart of every living entity. This is the actual purpose of the temple worship. So as long as anybody who doesn't realize that, he should not stop this temple worship or deity worship. We should continue, because we need to get this realization that Lord is present in everybody's heart. He is the object of knowledge. He is the goal of knowledge. So Veda Shastram cha Vijnanam etat sarvam janardhanat. So all the kind of knowledge, whatever is given in the Vedas, right? The Vedas, which are the Upangas, Jyotisha Shastra, and Ayurveda, every kind of Dhanurveda, everything, including the Gandharva Veda, including the music science, the science of music, medical science, the civil engineering science, everything. The purpose of every kind of knowledge given in the Vedas is to know Krishna. That's the ultimate purpose of knowledge. So a person is called actually knowledgeable when he actually understands Krishna. So it's like PhD. So when you come to that stage, when you come to the stage of Vishnu, that's what Chatushloki Lord Vishnu says to Lord Brahma, that until you come to this point, You should keep on searching for the absolute truth. But when you come to this point where you have realized me in the personal form, Lord Vishnu, this is where your search must stop, because you have come to the end. So it's like a philosophical speculation, which is there, which in the Vedas, like, you start speculating. Okay, who is my father? My father's father, grandfather. Who is my grandfather's father? And then you go back and trace it back, and then you trace it back to Lord Brahma. Who is Lord Brahma's father? Lord Vishnu. And that's where it stops. Lord Vishnu doesn't have a father, right? He is the father of all the living entities. Prapitamaha. So let's go to the next verse here. It says, Iti kshetram tata jnanam jneyam choktam samasataha madbhakta yetat vijnaya madbhavo madbhavayoyopapadyate. This knowledge that Krishna is summarizing right now, it's very important knowledge. In the 13th chapter is very important because it speaks from the platform of the knowledge, right? So it speaks from the platform of the Vedanta Sutras. I'll speak about it in a while. So now, first of all, let us just see what did Krishna speak so far. So far, Krishna has spoken about the knowledge of the Kshetra, Kshetrajna, and Gniya. These were the questions asked, right? Arjuna asked 6 questions. What is Kshetra? What is the field of activities? What is Kshetrajna? Knower of the field of activities. And what is Gneya? Or what is the object of the knowledge? And Krishna is answering that question. Kshetra, Krishna has already answered by saying the body is the field of activities, and he has spoken about the 24 or the 25 elements, right? 24 elements, we spoke about all of that. 16 elements and 24 elements and all of that. So that is a field of activities, and Krishna says that every kind of emotion that we get in our body is just because of the interaction of the field of activities, okay? And then he goes on and speaks about the Kshetrajna. Kshetrajna is the knower of the field of activities. There are 2 knowers. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. There are 2 knowers. It's not one knower, right? One knower is Atma, individual living entity. And then there is the supreme living entity. That is Krishna, right? So Krishna is the Purushottama, who is beyond the conditioned entities and the liberated living entities. There is Krishna, that is Purushottama. So this is called as knowledge, and Krishna speaks about the Kshetrajna. Who is the Kshetrajna? And Krishna is now talking about the super soul or the Gneya, or he's now saying very clearly that the object of all kinds of knowledge is only to understand me. Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo. No, it is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead that we have so many divisions of knowledge. Actually, here is an interesting point. There are many philosophers who believe that there is only one soul. There is no super soul and there is no soul. There is only one soul, which is same as the super soul and which is present in every living entity. Actually, this knowledge is not correct. It is not as per the Shastras. As per the version of the Shastras and the version of the Acharyas, there is an individual living entity. That is why we have 2 words in the Shastras. One is called as the Jiva, second one is called as the Ishvara or Paramatma. The word itself says Atma and Paramatma. Param indicates that which is beyond all the living entities, right? It says Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. That means there are so many Nitya. We are eternal. Living entity is eternal. Nitya. Nityo Nityanam. Among so many unlimited eternal living entities, there is another Nitya. So who is the head Nitya? Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. Among all those people who are conscious, there is super consciousness. That is why we use the word superlative degree for him. And we call him Parameshwara. Ishvara, there may be many. There may be great controllers like the Prime Minister or the deity of this planet or some greater planetary system, Ishwaras. But Parameshwara is one. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha. So we have to understand in this way that living entity, individual living entity is different from the super soul. Okay, this knowledge has been given in the Upanishads, but it has been misconstructed and in a way projected such a way that, there's only one living entity, there's only Paramatma, there is only one. Just like there is only one sun. But it appears to be divided, just like, for example, there is sun, and there are 100 people who are in in a city, and when they're seeing the sun above their head, everybody feels that sun is above my head. But it's actually a subjective feeling, but it's not the reality. The reality is that there is only one sun. Or for example, if you keep 10 pots there, it appears that the reflection of the sun is there in every one of the pot. So it doesn't mean that there are actually 10 suns, but there are 10 pots. Similarly, there may be 10 bodies. It appears that super soul is present in every living entity, but actually there is only one super soul whose reflection we are seeing. But living entity is definitely different from each and every living entity. Okay, this is very important knowledge. And why are we talking about that is because this knowledge, what we are talking about, kshetrajna, to talk about the Atma, to talk about the body, to talk about the nature of the material world, who understands it? This is a very important point. Let me just share the screen and show you. Krishna is telling very, very specifically here, Madbhakta yetat vignaya. Madbhakta yetat vignaya. That means only my devotees can understand this thoroughly. Only my devotees can understand thoroughly. Madbhava yoyopapadyate. So Krishna is not entertaining any kind of Ishtadeva theory here, that I shall worship anybody, whomever I like, and I shall still attain the knowledge. It is not possible. Because Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna is very specifically saying, Mad Bhakta Yetat Vignaya. If you want to understand the spiritual science, if you want to understand what is soul, what is super soul, what happens after death, complete knowledge, perfect knowledge, it is only possible with the help of Krishna consciousness, and only devotees can understand this. This is a version of Bhagavad-gītā. This is a version of Lord Krishna. That's what is Krishna's opinion. That Mad Bhakta Yetat Vignaya. Because there's so many commentaries. For Bhagavad-gītā also, for the Vedas also, there are different kinds of commentaries. You see, all the differences in the Shastras, in the scriptures, are reconciled. How are they reconciled? All the scriptures have been actually written by Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva, who is Vyasadeva? Can anybody say what is the relationship between Vyasadeva and Krishna? Can anybody tell me quickly? Are they connected or not?
Vasudev is the incarnation of Lord Krishna.
Vyasadeva is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. It's the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, right? You see, Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave. Okay, so Vyasadeva is Vishnu Rupa. He is the incarnation of Lord. It's also given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So whatever Vyasadeva has written, it has been written by Krishna himself, or indirectly he has ordered Vyasadeva to write all of the scriptures. The purpose of all the scriptures is to know about Krishna, either directly or indirectly. Sometimes it is indirect in the form of mental speculation or in the form of abstract description about the Brahman, but we all the scholars very conclusively conclude that these descriptions are actually about Krishna. And sometimes it may be about some other demigods, but the purpose is ultimately we understand Krishna. So ultimately we come to the Krishna consciousness is the purpose of writing all these scriptures. And therefore, the scriptures have been reconciled by the original author Vyasadeva himself in the form of Brahma Sutras. So in Sanatana Dharma, there are three praman. Okay, there are three evidences. It's called the Prasthanatraya. So first one is called as the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra and Bhagavad-gītā. These three are considered as pramana by every acharya. So actually we have to understand the Brahma Sutras or the Vedanta Sutras to be able to reconcile what each and every statement correctly means. And we have had many commentaries on the Brahma Sutras. The popular ones are Sharirika Bhashya by Shankaracharya, and we have a commentary called Sri Bhashyam by Ramanujacharya, and we have the Vedanta Sutra Bhashya by Madhvacharya, and we have one commentary by Nimbarka Swami, and we have also a commentary from our own parampara called Govinda Bhashya, written by Baladeva Vidyabhushan. Okay, and as far as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is concerned, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said there is no need of any commentary. Why? Of course, we cannot understand Vedanta Sutras ourselves, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this Srimad Bhagavatam is the original commentary written by the author himself. What does that mean? So just imagine if you're trying to read a very, very complicated textbook, okay, maybe it is some kind of a medical textbook or some very heavy terminology textbook, okay, which you cannot understand. It's like very, very heavy of knowledge and it's very difficult to understand. So for that, you require some kind of a guidebook or something which is like explanatory textbook for that. So there are a lot of publishers who can write an explanatory textbook on that guidebook, on that original textbook. But what if the author himself publishes another explanatory textbook for that? Which one would you prefer? Would you prefer something written by the other publishers or by other authors, or would you prefer that book which has been written by the author himself? That's the point. So Vedanta Sutras written by Vyasadeva and Srimad Bhagavatam written by Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva says that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that this is the explanation for the Vedanta Sutras. So one has to understand the Vedanta Sutras with the help of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had given an advice to the Mayavadi sannyasis in Varanasi that instead of reading the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutras, stop doing that and start reading Srimad Bhagavatam. You will understand Vedanta Sutras better. And they all took that advice. All right. So coming back to the point here is Madbhakta Yetat Vijnaya. There may be many commentaries, but the commentaries which are written by the devotees are the most authentic because it reconciles with the statement what Krishna is saying. So to be able to write a commentary on the Vedas, it has to be written by a devotee. Okay. So whatever the devotees write, they will be accepted as the Praman. Okay. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and attain my nature. So to attain the nature of Krishna, to understand the spiritual knowledge, it has to be only possible by devotional service. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. It's only possible by devotional service of Krishna. And it is not possible by any other kind of mental speculation. It's not possible. It's possible that, we can memorize Sanskrit dictionaries and try to come up with imaginary meanings for hundreds of shlokas and do a lot of word jugglery and try to bring in so many kind of meanings. It's possible, but actually they are not, all of them are not accepted. Okay, they're not accepted because we have to look at the unified thematic meaning. So how do you bring the unified thematic meaning is explained by our acharyas, which are considered as pramanas and which are not considered as pramanas. So the four Vedas and the Upanishads and the Mahabharata, right, and Moola Ramayana, that is Valmiki Ramayana, and the Puranas, which are Sattvic Puranas, which are glorifying Lord Vishnu, these are called as Pramanas. And also I forgot, Pancharatra Agama Shastra is considered as Pramana. So anything which is congruent to this evidence must be accepted. Anything which is contradictory to these Pramanas must be rejected as an exaggeration, and it must be reinterpreted by the acharyas who are well versed in understanding this knowledge, right? So ultimately the point is that super soul is one, right? That is Lord Vishnu, right? That is Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna's expansion is the super soul. And that's what Krishna is saying, take shelter of the super soul, right? Take shelter of the super soul because he is the object of knowledge. So our knowledge culminates here when we understand Krishna consciousness, when we understand that Krishna is the supreme personality of God and I should take shelter of him. This is called Ashraya Tattva. This is the final word of the Vedas. So this is where you have come to the final point. So it's just like we are very lucky we came to directly to the final point first instead of going through a lot of things and getting confused. So that's the mercy of the acharyas that we have. Like, Srila Prabhupada worked so hard to send this message to entire world. So we can see that his all his hard work has fructified in the terms of thousands of devotees, millions of devotees who are present all over the world right now, right? There are 108 temples when he constructed. Now, right now, there are more than 700, 800 temples all over the world. And it's not just some kind of a place of meditation or something. It's a place where you get knowledge. So this is the knowledge that we're talking about, Bhagavad-gītā. The object of the knowledge is the super soul. And you get this knowledge, the supreme knowledge, only here in the temples established by Srila Prabhupada. So these temples, Prabhupada says that he envisions them as the centers of knowledge, where people can come in and acquire knowledge, gain knowledge, and understand about their position, about the super soul, and actually use this knowledge, because simply by understanding this knowledge, we can go back to home, back to Godhead. This is the knowledge that is very, very, very essential. So by learning some other material degrees or material knowledge, maybe we can earn some money, but we may not be able to go back to Godhead. By any kind of speculation, by any kind of meditation practices, we cannot go back to Godhead. Only by this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, to understand the position of Krishna, to understand our position, is to go back to home, back to Godhead. Okay? Hare Krishna. So anybody has any questions, you can ask. Anybody has any questions? So that was about it. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay.